Waffles are a delightful treat enjoyed by many for breakfast, dessert, or simply as a snack, but they have a rich history that traces back centuries. The story of the waffle is one of evolution, influenced by different cultures and culinary practices throughout the ages. Hey, this is Country Boy from Historic Eats. If you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at my channel, Historic Eats. But without further ado, let's get started. The ancient origins of the waffle can be linked back to the Greeks, who were known for cooking flat cakes called oblios between two metal plates attached to a wooden handle. These early precursors to waffles were very simple. They were made from grain, flour, and water, formed a product that closely resembled today's crisp and unleavened communion wafer used in Christian churches. As these culinary practices spread across Europe, the variety of regional adaptations began to appear. By the Middle Ages, communion wafer irons evolved into more elaborate designs, with secular versions showcasing intricate patterns, including family crests, landscapes, and religious symbols. They were used not only for religious sacrament, but for making treats for special occasions. These treats were enjoyed by nobility and commoners alike, and were direct precursors to the modern waffle. Grain cultivation and milling were critical in the evolution of the waffle. As grains became more widely available and milling techniques improved, a broader populace was able to enjoy foods that were previously exclusive to the upper classes. Furthermore, the introduction of new ingredients such as eggs, milk, and fat helped leaven the batter and allow for a lighter, tastier product. These ingredients gave rise to what the French called oblets, a thin, crisp cake that was often filled with cream or fruit. The game changer came in the 13th century when skilled workers began to forge irons into unique grid patterns. This new development of waffle meant making cakes that now had a distinct pocket pattern, which somewhat looked like a honeycomb beehive, which is likely where they got their name. It's believed that the word waffle came from the Dutch word waffle and eventually evolved from the Frankish word, which translates to a piece of honeybee hive. During the 15th and 16th century, the Dutch and the Belgians developed a fondness for the Frankish craft of waffle making. The trend quickly spread throughout Europe, finding its way to many cultures and cuisines. At that time, it was trendy to have what was known as a waffle gathering. Similar to modern-day brunch, it was parties where they would whip up a batter containing oats and barley, and they would cook these waffles over an open fire using iron plates with wooden handles. During the Renaissance, the basic recipe for waffles began to evolve as it spread across Europe. Considerable improvements in waffle ingredients preparation became apparent. Chefs began to adjust their batter to make them more light and fluffy, and experimented with ways to enhance the texture by using beaten eggs and yeast. They also added new ingredients to the recipes. The waffles evolved significantly and became increasingly sweet, spiced, and fancy, with ingredients such as sugar, spices like cinnamon and nutmeg, and some used unique flavors like orange blossom water. As Europeans moved to the New World, they didn't leave their culinary traditions behind. Waffle recipes were among the recipes that made their way across the Atlantic. In the Americas, waffles made a significant breakthrough when Thomas Jefferson returned from France with the waffle iron. The merger of European waffle recipes with the American abundance of wheat resulted in a new waffle love affair. During the 1800s, the process of waffle making became simpler for American families, and this was largely due to cast iron stovetop waffle irons designed specifically for use on open fires and stoves. These featured distinct hinges and handles. Along with this, the essential ingredients to make waffles became less complex thanks to improved farming techniques and the Industrial Revolution, which made resources more readily available. During this period, a new waffle style known as the Belgian or the Brussels waffle was introduced. It was even bigger and fluffier compared to regular waffles and quickly gained popularity in the Americas. By 1911, the electric waffle iron was invented by Thomas J. Steinbeck, and this was another game changer for the world of waffles. This machine was simpler to use when compared to the heavy fire-heated waffle irons. Now, making waffles was as easy as plugging in a machine and waiting for the signal that your waffle was done. In the 1930s, lots of homes had electric waffle irons because people liked the convenience that it offered. And this caused a significant explosion in waffle popularity, which led to the creation of businesses that centered around serving waffles. Waffle eateries started to appear across the country, serving waffles with a variety of toppings like maple syrup, fresh fruits, and even ice cream. By the middle of the 20th century, the introduction of the frozen waffle changed the way people enjoyed this breakfast classic. The Dorser brothers introduced these in 1950 and later sold them under the Eggo brand. The great thing about these waffles is that you can heat them up with just a toaster, making them a perfect food that you can enjoy anytime. And the catchy phrase, Lego my Eggo, was then popularized by the Eggo brand. Frozen waffles made it possible for busy families to have a hot breakfast without having to spend time making waffles from scratch. This convenience helped the frozen food business flourish. Easy-to-cook waffles were available in many types to suit individual tastes, including whole grain, gluten-free, and flavored waffles. But beyond waffles' deliciousness, they also have permeated popular culture, media, and literature, becoming more than just a breakfast staple, an icon and a comfort symbol and a representation of American culture, adapting to trends and the tastes of contemporary society and carrying a cultural significance that extends beyond the kitchen. Televisions and movies often portray families coming home together over breakfast, with waffles being at the center of the table. In Stranger Things, the character Eleven, love for Eggo waffles became a cornerstone of the character's development and a quirky plot point that endeared her to audiences. As a symbol of American culture, waffles encapsulate the blend of tradition and innovation. They have their roots in European cuisine, but have been wholeheartedly adopted and adapted by Americans, reflecting the melting pot nature of the country. Waffles are served in diners, dives, and upscale restaurants alike. The lasting impact of waffles can be seen in American eateries. The persistent innovation of waffle dishes, nostalgic place that they hold in our hearts. Americans continue to reinvent and celebrate waffles. They reinvent the very concept of a comfort food, and in doing so, weave waffles into the very fabric of America's cultural identity. Thank you. This has been the History of Waffles. I'm your host, Country Boy. If you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at Historic Eats. Peace.